How's it going, everybody? This was a video requested on Twitch after seeing some of the U32 matches we've been doing yesterday and today. So I figured we'd throw it together real quick. This is a top 5 U32 offensive teams that we've been using, because the offense does seem to be the meta right now. Before we jump into that, though, I want to talk about the solutions Scopely has posed for the giant U32 problems where people didn't get matchmaked and how they're going to handle that. Let me know in the comment section how you guys feel about that solution, and give me any sort of feedback or alternatives that you would prefer to see them, and I'll make sure to pass that along. Let's get into the video. Alright guys, before we jump into the top 5 Crucible offensive teams for this U32 tournament, we got to talk about some news that came through. Cosmic Crucible 32 matchmaking issues update. This is kind of why making this video for U32 makes more sense. Commanders, there was an issue with matchmaking in the Ultimate 32 Cosmic Crucible season where some players were not placed in a match. We'll be taking the following actions for those affected players. Compensation of weekly rewards plus the season rewards for this season being missed. I don't understand how they can do that, being that the season rewards is like a portrait. It's kind of weird, right? Because depending where you're ranked, from 1 to 100, there's a portrait of Living Tribunal. We're going to go in game. We'll talk about all this after we read it all. Compensation of points missed in the mental mastery event. I think that needed to go out like yesterday or today for it to matter. So, I mean, this makes sense. Definitely get that out there as soon as possible. Compensation of points missed in the Omega training event based off of your yellow star progression made for Jean Grey by Friday the 31st, which is going to be this Friday, right? So that also makes sense because that's when the U32 would end. So wherever your Jean Grey star level is, that are going to be the associated points for the event, that's fine. That covers the event issue part of things. We'll send out a calendar as soon to all players who qualify for Cosmic Crucible. So it's not just all players who qualify for this who were affected by the issue, but for all players, with materials to help you continue to level up. So just a big little gift for everybody, I suppose, right? We have also identified an issue with efficiency scoring not changing to accommodate 6 attack attempts per room. How it works right now is if you one-shot something, you get 800 efficiency points. If you two-shot something, you get 400 efficiency points. If you 3, 4, 5, or even 6-shot something, you get 0 efficiency points on the attempt bonus. So this is a huge issue because some people, they're losing their Crucible because they lost once in stage 1, once in stage 2, and their opponent lost 5 times in stage 2. So that doesn't really make sense, okay? So they're going to be fixing that. This will not change for this week because they probably have to take the Crucible down. But we will run a second Ultimate 32 tournament next week starting on Tuesday. The season rewards for this week will pay out and a new season leaderboard will begin, and the last for the tournament starting next Tuesday. The efficiency scoring will be fixed for this second week. So there's a couple of things that are good about this. There's a couple of things that are bad, a couple of things that are just completely left out. These people are still missing the fun of the U32 tournament. I almost think they should, like, I know a lot of people are going to hate me for saying this. They're getting the same sort of rewards, which is great. They should probably get like a little bit extra because they're not getting the fun of U32. And at the end of the day, this is a game of fun. So I do wish the players affected got a little extra bonus. I don't know, like 5 million gold or something like that. 500 cores, whatever, something. It kind of sucks that they don't get to play it, right? They will get to play it next week, but that we all will get to play it again next week. And I think it's kind of neat, right? Now, there are some issues with it. Let's go ahead in game for a second here. So this is in game. This is what I was talking about. So they say they're going to pay the season rewards for being missed. Well, the season rewards, the ranked rewards, include these avatars. Were they talking about the ranked rewards for this? It's kind of weird. Are they talking about the ranked rewards, or are they just talking about whatever the final payment is for this, which is, I guess, these guys? Maybe they're just talking about this. So everyone's got the experience, but nobody gets leaderboard. And what also is happening here is you are moving up and down in the tribunal rating. So if I go to my leagues right now, you'll see my tribunal rating is 2055, which is great because that is what you need to be in Grandmasters. I wasn't in Grandmasters when I started this. When I won my first match, it pushed me over 2055. So clearly, people's tribunal rating is moving up and down depending on losses. This is bad for a whole assortment of reasons. If there are people locked out who are around your tribunal rating they are at a static tribunal rating. They will not move up, they will not move down. So by me playing in the tournament, I can pass by people who have no option to defend their position in the ranked rewards, right? And at the same time, they don't have to prove themselves in this new tournament, so they stay static. So people that are ahead of these guys and lose are going to be slotted behind them, and people who are behind these guys and win, they'll get slotted ahead of them. So it's this really sort of wonky issue that I'm not a big fan of. It will affect your future matches based on your elo. I mean, this is kind of like a top end issue, I would say. I don't know if this can be reverted, if they can do a snapshot of where people were before this tournament started. I'm not sure how all that works. I did question this because I don't know how else you can actually do ranked rewards if this isn't already the case. But if this is the case, then people who are already kind of at the top 100 automatically get this. It's kind of weird, right? In a perfect world, what you would have happen is you as a developer would know how many tournaments there are going to be total, and that would be the amount of porches that are given out. And as long as you win all of your matches, you get into that position. That's how I wish it kind of played out, because then there'd be less of these living tribunal portraits all at the top 100. It'd be like spread out all over the place. I know a lot of whales and krakens would not love that, because then very few of them would get it, right? But it is what it is. I kind of like the exclusivity things can have. Anyway, with that said, we now have more reason to dive in to the U32 tournament structure of 3 rooms, and we're going to come up with a couple of the top 5 offensive teams we've seen used thus far and share that with you guys, because it does seem to be maybe an offensive meta right now. Let's get into it. All right, guys, and as promised, we're going to do the top 5 Crucible teams for the U32 tournament as I see them. And I'll give you some rooms where these guys obviously need to be put in, some variations for them, and we'll have some gameplay examples to go over. So this Kahori offensive team is something I came up with because we saw some really nightmarish Kahori defensive teams and then some Mephisto teams because we came up with a counter. So we've kind of fought a wide array of those options. We'll go over what I think was probably the scariest today. But it starts with Kahori. Kahori's the base, followed by Astral's Shadow King, because he does a gigantic ping of damage, okay? Guardian and Iron Patriot are kind of interchangeable. Guardian will give you more overall damage because he's going to give you offense up to both your Kahori and your Shadow King, which is 50% increased damage on both of the characters. Iron Patriot will give you 60% increased damage on Shadow King, but nothing on Kahori. So if you have a smaller Kahori, I'm actually not even sure how well this works against Mephisto teams, but a smaller Kahori leans more towards Iron Patriot because you could have a bigger Shadow King based on his release type, right? So those 2 characters with those kind of one of those power punchers is really good. Then you have Kang. The reason you would bring in Kang is because you need a little bit of speed bar to make your Kahori go before the enemy Kahori. Then we have another option where I actually take out Guardian and I brought in Endgame Thanos. This is what I did with my first U32 tournament. And what that did, it's an RNG chance that your Kahori will spam her ultimate. And I did get 5 attacks because of that RNG chance in my first matchup. Then there's this next option, which is a little bit more secure, guarantees energy, but it does have one condition that you need to meet. So this is going to be taking out Kang, so there's no enemy Kahori in this case. And then we take out Endgame Thanos, and we're going to slap in Old School Thanos. The reason you would use Old School Thanos is because if they have an old school character, that could be a Super Skrull, that could be a Spider-Man Pav, that could be anybody pre the Ares meta. And if you have a big enough Kahori, your attack plus the ISO ping plus having all the extra damage from Guardian and then the Shadow King follow-up, if that kills somebody, your Kahori will instantly get her energy again. No RNG to it. And then you could spam that ult. Because if it didn't kill a new stat character the first hit, it'll kill them the second hit. And because he's a striker and Iron Patriot puts out some vulnerables, well, you would extend your offense up, extend your power, and it's brutal. However, I did face a really smart player in my last Crucible, so let's go see how he handled, or how I stumped him, but he was still able to handle the defense that I set up using a similar team that you see here. So here it is, and this was up against Saw Owner, and I had set Annihilators with Skrull and Spider-Man Pav. And the reason this is a little bit trickier, you can't use endgame Thanos here because there's no expose for Kahori to get energy off. You can't use Patriot here. I mean, you can, but it just gives you damage to Shadow King because you won't get vulnerables either. So in this case, he decided, I'm going to flip the script here. I'm going to bring in Dorm and Doom in case the worst case scenario happens. And that is what happened to him during this match. So he couldn't get a kill, and he ended up having to lean into the Doom ultimate. This didn't increase the efficiency cost of his match, but he was still able to get it done. So there's the hit, no expose, no vulnerables for that extra damage. And then he only got the 3 turns. Or rather the 4 turns, but he was unable to kill anybody. The ult comes in, it pushed the Doom, killed the Doom, but the Doom comes back because of that Dormammu there, and this just cost him a lot of efficiency. On the flip side, if we look at my attack, when there was no counter to expose or vulnerables, this is where I have to do an edit. So now this is my attack against his Mephisto Night Stalkers. I do get exposes, I do get vulnerables here, and so I'm able to do the first attack. ISO attack takes the buffs off of that pre-taunt. Okay? Then I'm able to go over to the Mephisto. I didn't get any energy from him to the exposed, but that's okay. I still get my 4 turns. I take out the enemy Mephisto. My Shadow King gets speed bar because of his pings happening, and we're able to get a win there. So, this is sort of the different kind of variations you need to look at of this team when tackling certain obstacles. For the record, because I know people are now going to try this, if you put Mephisto with Annihilators in stage 1, I'll use my Apocalypse then, right? I'll use my Apocalypse so you don't get Safeguard on your Gladiator, and I would play it similar to how you saw the Night Stalkers one, but I wouldn't open with Ultimate. Instead, I'd open with the Kahori Basic to make sure I strip your Gladiator, because there's no ISO attack, there's no way to strip him except the Kahori Basic, and then I would turn my full attention into the Mephisto and see what happens from there. But I'd be interested to know what you guys think about this team and if you've been using it or if you've seen it used against you. Let's go back to the website. All right, the next team we're going to be talking about are Mephisto-based teams, and we're looking directly at an Odin Illuminati for these options in various floors, okay? The first team you see here, I think, is the most reliable, especially in stage 2 of the current Crucible, which I see a lot of people putting their Odin Illuminati there. The way this match works out is pretty clean. If there's no pre-taunt, it's very simple. You basically just destroy the Mephisto right away. Destroy the Odin right away, and then you just play cleanup with the Annihilators, and your Black Knight has done so much work at that point, it's not so bad, alright? The Night Stalkers Mephisto team, not as clear-cut, but this will work actually better than the above team in Stage 3, because Stage 3 is giving more stats to new stat characters, just like a numerical amount higher, right? So you get more barrier on this team will benefit from the damage a lot higher, and you'll still be able to get to that Odin much easier with this team. Also, obviously, they flip the slow to speed up, which is nice against that Black Panther Shuri. And then finally, the team we see down here, we're going to have Superior 6 with Nightcrawler and Mephisto. And this would be an interesting team if, say, we wanted to face off against an Odin Illuminati in stage 1. This would be amazing. This would get it done really fast with Mephisto opening up with his ultimate. This would also be good if somebody flips the script and we want to stay in stage 1 and they want to use Illuminati with Mephisto in stage 1 because Captain Britain stops our Kahori that we were talking about above. Well, in that case, because Mephisto is a villain, our Vulture puts slow on the enemy Mephisto, our Mephisto goes first, he starts with ultimate, puts ability block on the enemy Mephisto, and you have a nice win there. So I do like keeping all 3 of these options available, depending on the various needs. Wherever Illuminati goes, my Mephisto is sure to follow. Let's go ahead in game, we'll look at an example of this. So once again, this is for my match today, and I have the first team we talked about. We are in stage 2, and my opponent has a Pav on defense. So this is not a pre-taunt, which I think is a little bit harder, but it works out in a similar way. The Odin is going to get to special, but no battlefield effect, and as long as you kill him by then, you're golden. So when there is no taunter, we just go straight for the Apocalypse. I use that empowered basic from my Mephisto on the enemy Odin, and that just absolutely rips him to pieces, right? You see along the way, my Black Knight is just chipping away at people every single time they take a hit at me. I'm going to take a swipe at them. And you see it works out real nice. Odin's gone, and honestly, at this point, Mephisto Ultimate would probably have cleaned this up on his own. Him and Black Knight would shred through this. All right, let's go look at some other options for Odin Illuminati, though, because I know that team is seeming to be the most popular defensive team right now. All right, so we have two more options. We have Omega Red Phoenix Force, okay? I don't have footage of this, but people are telling me this works. I've seen it work on the playtest, but that was with a 7 red, 7 yellow Omega Red. However, I am being told people with a 4 yellow, 2 red star Omega Red are getting the same team to work in that fashion, okay? So this would save your Mephisto. You need to hide your Echo as far as possible. In fact, Echo, you could maybe place further back, but it depends if there's a pav there. Maybe you don't want to do that. And essentially, this is very similar to the Mephisto comp. The enemy cannot give you trauma. They cannot gain safeguard. Your Apocalypse opens with his special, and you rely on your Mega Red damage to really kind of clear the field. The enemy, Odin, does not get assists because we have our Echo here, so he does not have his battle. If they get the battlefield effect up, you're done. You lose, okay? And positioning is super crucial here because the Phoenix eats that first attack from Black Panther Shuri, and you want to make sure slow does not make its way over to your Omega Red. The next team was theorized by Saw Owner, the #1 Crucible player in the world, and I had my doubts about this team, but then I saw him do it, and I do have footage of it here. This was an absolutely crazy attack. This beats Odin Illuminati and a pre-taunt. So much goes into this attack, okay? Because this is stage 2, and this only works in stage 2, the Immortal team makes it so no pre-taunt. None. Zero. Zilch, okay? Then you have the Storm stopping charges from the Black Panther Shuri so that you're still getting assists from Old Man Logan. We get defense down, percentage damage from the Phoenix, as well as just really, really big damage. And Nightcrawler doing what Nightcrawler does. Okay, let's go in game and let's watch this fight outplayed. All right, so here we are in game, and you can see he did get it to work, but it was ugly. This, I think, is your last option. This is if you really want to try and force your Mephisto to be on defense. So if you want to try this, Mephisto can go to defense. But if you don't have Odin Illuminati in stage 2, it's in stage 3 instead, it's going to get a lot trickier, okay? But let's go ahead and let's watch this so you can see how Saw Owner played it. And this was a masterclass in Crucible. So no taunt of the Juggernaut because of the full Immortal team, right? Now, he gets a little unlucky that my team does tunnel down his Nightcrawler. So those Odin assists, absolutely ripping that Nightcrawler apart. If he got one more hit at some point, I think that Nightcrawler dies, but I don't think that makes it play out differently. So you have that Storm use her ultimate. No heroes can get slow, though. Sorry, she used her special. No heroes can get slow, but there's lots of stuns around the field, right? And then his Old Man Logan will stun Hank. So now all the Illuminati members are missing their second turn. Captain Britain misses first, just because the slew of stuns on this team. And you see, the Illuminati have effectively been reduced to just nothing. All they are, at this point, is to stop a different kind of team from beating up Odin in stage 2. But the Odin passive starts chipping away. Big damage comes at her. Phoenix is about to take the first death and go dark on us. And at this point, this is the scary part, right? Because the Odin battlefield effect is in place and Storm didn't get the one-shot off. So the question here is, to make this more efficient, could Storm have got the one-shot? If Storm was a Raider, a crit might have got that done, right? If we had different ISOs and we loaded up more damage into the Old Man Logan via... Sorry, the Odin via Old Man Logan, that could have helped us. If we use the Storm, or the Phoenix ultimate instead of the special, we could have got a lot more damage on him then, because the Phoenix ult does a hell of a lot of damage. So I think there's ways to clean this up, but this actually does work. Old Man Logan does get the kill. And if Old Man Logan was a striker here, it would have been all the better, right? So Storm Raider, Old Man Logan striker, I think that could kind of clean this up, but it gets it done. And that's a win. That's a crazy win. So with so many options to face off against Odin Illuminati in stage 2, if you want that team to still be on defense, I think you guys probably want to move that to stage, oh god, it's not safe in stage 3 either, because Night Stalkers destroy it with the additional damage there. Stage 1, they don't get the special. Maybe you do that to kind of tease somebody into trying that attack and hope they don't play it as well as Saw Owner did. But speaking about the Immortal team, this is an amazing team so far in the U32 tournament. We've seen them do tremendous things. And there's a couple ways you can stump these guys, right? You don't want to rely on speed bar. You want to rely on speed up. This team kind of chases anybody that's relying on speed bar, with the exception of stage 1 getting a little bit tricky because you don't have your specials to rely on turn 1, but neither does your enemy, so it's kind of a mixed bag there. But these guys, the first version we see here, this is kind of the vanilla version, right? This version is amazing at taking out like Annihilator scroll comps that we can't use Cabal on. So I'll show you footage of me doing that here that I did earlier today. The next version down with Emma, this is something I would use on, say, the Night Stalkers. Okay, so Night Stalkers, they don't have too much speed bar. Oath only gives it on the offensive side. They rely on speed stat. So with speed stat, my new school Emma could come in, cut that off. Nightcrawler will still give speed bar to all X-Men characters, and that's a way I can kind of rush Storm to her ultimate faster. This is a lot better in stage 1 because we do miss a lot when we don't have the full team. Kind of the really crappy part about the Immortal team is you really want the full team to make sure they can't get taunt outside of stage 2 on spawn, to make sure they can't get speed bar. There's a lot of reasons you want to keep the full team together, if not stage 2, right? But this can work for certain different comps that you might see, especially revolving around Night Stalkers. Especially if you see those Night Stalkers in stage 2, it's quite easy to deal with. This third comp is just kind of a variation on the second comp. If it's not Night Stalkers and you want extra damage, once again, that is sort of a stage 2 sort of use. So let me go ahead and track down a fight in which I used that team. And that's going to be from yesterday. And we'll see here, I was up against Night Stalkers with Scientist Supreme, and I took it out with just the Emma version. I kept the Cable in. I didn't bother using Nightcrawler here, because at the end of the day, the new character stats, they still smash on the damage front, right? Which is something I value. I value high efficiency kills very, very fast. So the Scientist Supreme gets shut down, but this is only because this is in stage 2. If this was not in stage 2, you cannot bring in the Emma here, because the Scientist Supreme will destroy you by getting slow on you and getting speed up to the enemy Night Stalkers. So you have to play that one a little bit differently. There's still ways to beat it, by the way, with the Immortal team, which is just use straight Immortal. You'll still win most of the time. Stage 3 might be a little scary. And you see that damage is just too overwhelming. So, okay, let's now go talk about some older teams that actually still meet the mustard check for the U32 tournament. And I'm talking about the Superior 6 team, guys. So the Superior 6, especially this full Superior 6 you see here, will actually beat Night Stalkers with Scientist Supreme in stage 2. Because your Goblin will go first before, well, rather, Scientist Supreme goes, and then your Goblin goes, and he puts Trauma and flips that speed up right back into slow on the Night Stalkers, and then they are stuck. And then your Superior 6 team does actually beat them. I would not do this in stage 3 would be tricky because that barrier helping those Night Stalkers so much, and if they do get one attack off, you're probably gonna die. So I would be mindful there, but I see a lot of people using Night Stalkers with Scientist Supreme, or say Night Stalkers with Pav in stage 2. And if they do Night Stalkers with Pav, you're gonna want to go ahead and slap in that Vulture. Again, same sort of interaction as Scientist Supreme. Vulture steals that speed up, so now your team is already even faster, right? The enemy team will flip that slow that they get into speed up, but your Goblin immediately goes ahead, he flips that, he gives them the trauma so they can't flip it back, and then you're in the driver's seat. And that, guys, is kind of my top 5 Crucible teams that I'm seeing the most use out of right now in the U32. So just to recap, that would be a Kahori-based team for stage 1, which if they end up putting a Captain Britain in there, I'm going to chase it down with my Mephisto. And then I have other options for Illuminati, Odin, whether it be a Mephisto comp, whether it be an Omega Red Phoenix, especially if I willed out on Omega Red, that'd help a lot, or this absolutely sketchy but doable Immortal team. And then more Immortal characters kind of chase around stage 3, chasing around those Annihilator Skrull comps that are kind of the default best third defense team in the game. Chase them around, maybe avoid stage 1 and lean into some crafty Kahori bits. And then if I see something super easy, I want to throw my Superior 6 at it so I can open up some doors elsewhere. Like if I see my opponent has Night Stalkers, Scientist Supreme in stage 2, then all of a sudden I can make an awesome Kahori team and put Mephisto on it. or an awesome Kahori team and put Apocalypse on it instead of Guardian, right? So there's lots of cool things that you can do to spice up these teams. And with this, I kind of think Odin Illuminati still stays on defense, probably still in stage 2. If you meet a whale who got Omega Red Phoenix, you're probably just going to die if you haven't done the same, right? The question now becomes, what's your favorite teams on defense? Let me know in the comment section, guys, and maybe we'll do a video on that as well. But for now, stay happy, stay healthy, have yourselves a wonderful day, and we'll talk soon. The next U32 video will be up tomorrow morning, so keep an eye out for that. Bye, guys.
That's it for the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Stay happy, healthy, have fun, and I'll see you in the next one.